and I realized that I was just giving a tremendous amount of energy to what other people thought, and then acting on that and figuring out what was needed from my environment and acting on that, rather than acting freely from myself, just letting that come out of myself, whatever was needed. Also, giving other people the freedom to be themselves and not always to have some kind of hidden meaning about me, hidden opinion about me that I was having to take care of, or to change, or to manipulate. Suddenly there was a lot more time, in a way, and space in my life. And I think that's when I started thinking about Padma Shuri saying I needed to take my power. And I realized where that was coming from. So it's a very interesting place to be, and it's a nice place to be at the moment. A freer place to be. At the same time, without really realizing it, with no kind of plan of my own, I started to see that I was beginning to help people much more automatically, friends and others. I would just step in and offer help just so immediately the minute I heard it was needed. And it was like I was moving the way that green Tara moves. I was just like going forward, offering. And this is something, later I'll go, why did I do that? I mean, it's fine, but I didn't expect that I would have that immediate offer on hand. And so I think that might be, in some ways, the workings of being closer to green Tara and taking her inside me and her characteristics, rather than always asking her to do it for me. But it's a bit of a mystery, and I'd like to leave it as that, because it's not something easy to explain. But if anyone would like to discuss this later and the question time, then we can discuss kind of what that means, that sort of relationship with a bodhisattva. But for now, we're going to go to the third part of the talk, and that is the relationship of the Bodhicaryavatara and the path to awakening, guide to the path of awakening, with a vision in the world today, and something that is happening now in the world that relates, I think, quite clearly to these teachings. And I'd like to start again with a quotation from the Bodhicaryavatara. At night, in darkness, thick with clouds, a lightning flash gives a moment's brightness. So sometimes, by the power of the Buddha, the mind of the world might, for a moment, turn to acts of merit. Yeah, I think that's so beautiful. That the world could have a consciousness, that there's a consciousness that might turn to acts of merit. Like a flash of light in a dark sky, there might be a turn of the way the world saw things, or the way we see things, to acts of merit. So, the words of Santideva, written 18 centuries ago, seem even more relevant today, during this time when there's a great deal of question about the survival of many species and ecosystems, the problems of global warming, and the difficulties of our Earth being able to support us and offer to us in the bounty that she's offered for all these centuries. It makes me think of Shantideva's words in his ritual of devotion, where he's speaking about the Bodhisattvas giving like the earth and other elements, giving of themselves totally. And the earth is less able to give as much due to damage, so much damage that's building up. And we feel this in our world today. And so during this time, there are people and organizations who are taking the steps of the Bodhisattvas. They're taking steps toward trying to help and give to the world at large and all sentient beings. And there are words like speciesism that I never heard, just a few years ago. I was born in the world where we had the rights as humans to have, we were the rightful conquerors of all things in the world, and we were the ones that just, we had the right to have everything. And now people question that. Lots of people question that, and lots of people try to change that. And again, Shantideva's words are so amazing, because we think of our own cravings and cravings for material gain and for sensual pleasures to be our right. But all those centuries ago, Shantideva writes, even the entire wealth-bearing earth is not adequate to fulfill our longings. So it's this growing understanding that changes need to happen within us as much as outside of us that links with Shantideva's path to the guide to the path of awakening, and the practice of the 6 paramitas. I won't give a lot of examples. I would like to give one example of a group, an environmental and political activist group called Avaz. And I'd like to give them as an example because of their 2020 New Year's resolution. They offered to all their members 4 principles, and it amazed me when I read them. 4 principles that we might want to take on in this new year, and they're so dharmic, and they follow so much the path that I've been speaking about of awareness and change. So these 4 principles are, firstly, to watch out for the triggers that create habitual, unskillful, and negative habits. So they call it to untrigger. So to see where, and as Shantideva works with us so much, where is it that our greed, where is it that our hatred, where is it that our impatience and anger is coming up? See this, be aware of it, and then you can work with it. So this is untrigger, see this, and don't let it trigger you. Then the second of the principles is to listen for our inner wisdom. And that is so much the 8th chapter on meditation, of going inward, of understanding deeper parts of ourselves, and finding answers from other places that are maybe more autonomous and maybe more pure from doing inner work. Then the 3rd principle is be kind and strong. And this reminds me a lot of Virya, where Shantideva speaks about the need to be with effort for the good and to have the rightful energy to go on. And Avaz reminds their members that they need to be kind but also strong. And then lastly, Avaz says, stop the gossip, which for a Buddhist would be stop the slanderous speech. And they suggest to seek the truth, not to take on fake news, half-truths, smears, misinformation, and to try to understand, and this is a quote, the often complex truth, unquote, about the world. And that is also very, very Buddhist. That's the conditions, the web of conditions that have got us here. Try to understand these difficulties and these intricate situations rather than blaming one thing and one person in a very simplistic way. So I thought those were beautiful, beautiful principles to take on, and also a beautiful reminder that activism isn't only activism outside. Activism is activism inside. That in order, as Santideva tells us, in order to liberate all beings, we first need to liberate ourselves. So I'd like to end this talk with a little poem. I'd like to go back to the caravan imagery of this travel toward awakening on this mysterious route of the caravan. And this is a poem by Rumi, by Mevlana, in the 13th century, and it's called Lovers. And in this case, lovers are the searchers with the open hearts, searching for awakening. O lovers, lovers, it is time to set out from the world. I hear a drum in my soul's ear, coming from the depths of the stars. Our camel driver is at work. The caravan is being readied. He asks that we forgive him for the disturbance he has caused us. He asks why we travelers are asleep. Everywhere the murmur of departure, the stars like candles thrust at us from behind blue veils, and as if to make the invisible plain, a wondrous people have come forth. And I'm not sure whether those wondrous people are us, Bodhisattvas, all of us together, but it's a beautiful poem for that.